I would like to welcome our panelists and welcome our guests for this session, which the topic is a new beginning, how to together adapt to a new normality. I would like to welcome Mr. Tomasz Knudsen, Managing Director of Pandora, Mr. Wojciech Czernek, the advisory of the Managing Board from Toys R Us, Mr. Stanisław Bogacki, CEO Solar, Ms. Agnieszka Baczyńska, International Director, International Leasing Director, Nowy, Ms. Anna Dafna, Deputy CEO, CFO, Atrium Poland, Mr. Alpay Güner, CEO, MediaMarkt Saturn Polska. I think as I see all of us, all the invited panelists are here, so we can start our session. The discussion about the need of redefinition of retail was present actually already in the past, before the COVID-19 pandemic started. The pandemic actually accelerated some mechanisms, some processes that was already present. These processes were very much including increase of new technologies in sale, communication with the customers. During the pandemic, we saw that the online sale jumped up significantly during lockdown. But we also saw that after the end of lockdown, customers did not resign from traditional shopping, they get back to the shopping centers. How both sides, tenants and landlords, can adapt to this new normality, what this adaptation means. Also, I would like to ask our guests to share with us their more futuristic view on retail in like 5 years, maybe perspective on retail and shopping centers. Mr. Knudsen, maybe I will ask you first, how omni-channel and new technologies supported your sale during the lockdown? And do you see them now and in the future to be still or even more important for your category, for your business, for your brand?
Sure.
And also, what customer trends will impact the most the traditional trend in your view?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me on board. I think it's super interesting that we can get together between retailers and landlords and have these conversations. They are definitely more important than ever before. You know, for us, the whole, let's say, omnichannel experience is, I mean, we are not black belts in terms of Pandora. We have an online presence, but as such, our technology is not where we want it to be. And when the pandemic set in, obviously, we were certainly more exposed to that. And then what do you do then as a very traditional retailer where we have, let's say, a loyal customer base using our store mediums as a main focal point of contact? You know, full lockdown, and then how do you then continue to interact? And of course, technology becomes the key tool to go to. And what we found very, very fast is that our customers were simply lacking to have that continued conversation with us as a brand. You know, we build, let's say, long-lasting relationship with our brands. They come to us year after year and shop with us. And there's many stories to be told about the products we tell and, you know, the storytelling from the client. And all of a sudden, they were cut off for that. So you know, then you can say you can go online and buy, but that doesn't really satisfy the customer to the brand they buy into when it comes to Pandora. So what we found is that we had to set up certain new medias to simply communicate with people. And we started out very basic and saying that let's start up some WhatsApp communications. And make sure that you know the interaction with us would be real interaction. It will not be some kind of robot that will give you a standard reply that, you know, 2-3 words into it you would become annoyed with that. So the whole, let's say, personalization, taking that from offline into online, how do we done that? And I think that the best tool that we are now looking at now is a whole, let's say, virtual store or virtual experience where you as a customer can simply schedule a time with us and call us up, and we will take a video call in a, let's say, virtual store, real store, where we can take the customer around, we can probe all the questions, we can continue to have that dialogue. And obviously, you know, this is something we've been looking at as a company globally to scale out over the 3, 4, 5 years, whereas now with the lockdown, it's something that we really have to accelerate. So I think the technology piece has become much more important than it was just a couple of months ago. And then the big question for me is now, how do we then align to that new agenda where, the shopping malls has historically been, let's say, our biggest assets where our customers would go to. Now there's been a huge change, and then how can we continue that setup in a new format with the landlords to find a new way forward where we say, the actual sale or the actual communication were historically very much in the malls, whereas now the whole process of selling or interacting with the customer might happen way early on different platforms. It might then go into the mall, it might not. But then we need to find a balance or a new way how to set that up. And I'm hoping, this discussion today will somewhat dig into that and put some tools, ideas in play.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bogacki, I have a question on fashion, because your brand represents the fashion sector, which, according to Central Statistic Offices, was one of the most hit during the pandemic, or during the lockdown, actually. What impact really the situation had, and also the previous change it had on your industry, or maybe not impact but influence? And do you see opportunities for your industry in the future? And how do you see, as Mr. Knudsen was referring to, need of finding the proper way of cooperation with shopping center? How would you see that as well?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, future future is unfortunately a little bit unknown. However, always we must believe in future, yes. Otherwise, there is no way to run a business. But going to the score of your question, I should here stress that regarding the fashion industry, that we should take into consideration two groups of factors, I would say. The first one is, of course, the general one. Everyone knows what happened, yes? So, uncertain future resulting in worsening moods, yes? Worsening moods of customers, obviously. Drop in buying sentiment. The definitely significant slowdown of economy, yes? Pure demand, all consequences of pure demand. Of also the sanitary regime caused some kind of fear for our customers as well, not only for the customers, but also for the shop staff. But these factors are going with everyone. However, also there are some factors having an impact mainly for the fashion industry. The first one is that the time when the lockdown started was unfortunately very bad for us. It was a very bad period. Why? Because at that time we had almost no sales in the best-selling period in the first half of the year. And we know that the beginning of spring, there is a time that is creating a natural desire to refresh your wardrobe. This is especially for ladies, and we are a leading ladies company. But also in March, in April, May, usually you have numerous celebrations like Easter, like First Communion, like weddings, many meetings, conferences, cultural events, yes? And also the famous long weekend at the beginning of May, and all the holiday trips at the time. Everything has been cancelled or highly limited. So also there's another feature that a lot of people have switched to home office work. And so finally, there was no need to buy new clothing. And definitely the sales of almost every fashion brand dropped down a lot. Also, that was another feature, that was necessity of introduction during the lockdown period, first in our e-commerce and later in our regular stores, significant price reductions. And all that happened much earlier than usual. So finally, we face a considerable drop in margin. And this is also connected with every brand in the fashion industry, I would say. And also we need to remember that the fashion industry is a little bit different than the other ones, because here there is a need to invest at the same time for current production, and also for the future collections. So the cash flow here, especially in the early spring, is very important. Another feature, this is to make, no, well, this is maybe connected with everyone, however, especially also with fashion, to make a real, the right production decisions, how far go down with the volume of the next collection, also not lowering this collection on its shape, but also not investing too much. This is a big problem also for us. Okay, this is our knowledge to resolve such a problem. But also we need to remember that fashion industry, they are not only retailers and brands, they're also suppliers, and they also they lost a lot because of decrease of the number, volume, and total value of orders for them. And I think they are the main features regarding the fashion industry. Regarding future, I predict that next half year will be more or less the same like currently, but the final results of the lockdown and this pandemic period, we can estimate, I think, as early as on early spring of the next year, not earlier. And of course, everything depending on the general situation. If there is increasing number of persons suffering from COVID, definitely situation for everyone will be worse. But this we know very well. However, also I would say something about the future of cooperation with shopping malls. Of course, for us this is very, very clear that due to the country's commercial infrastructure, shopping malls definitely will remain the main shopping destination, while also acting largely as omnichannels. This is very well known way, and there is no return from that one. However, successful shopping mall should have some features, and the first one, and very important, is good shopping malls. They should have a clear and a very attractive profile, and very, I would call it, readable profile. What not always is met now. Also, proper tenant mix and the proper location. From time to time, I mean that management of shopping malls from time to time try to rent any empty space only for anyone, only to get some rental fee, and this is not the proper way. The particular place must follow the neighborhood, and to create a really readable, clear structure for the customers. I think also, of course, the very, very, very clear is that shopping malls should clear organization and very good communication with the clients. This is obvious. But also they should closely cooperate with tenants, and not transferring the entire business risk to the tenant. Until now, rather, we had such a situation. Shopping malls should definitely consider to adjust the rental fees in accordance with the actual economic circumstances. It doesn't, very often, unfortunately, it doesn't happen. And the last what I would like to say, this is the topic which is rather not very well remembered. What I mean, that shopping centers are often sold, and usually they have new owners. And all these transactions are made against another laws. So this is an excuse to explain to tenants inability to be more flexible regarding rental fees. But this is not the tenant's matter, that such an action, and tenant cannot bear the consequences of such a business. So shopping centers in general must understand that and accept that this is a common mutual business, and both parties must have profits.
Thank you very much for a very interesting view. I think that Ms. Dafna and Ms. Baczyńska will reply to your suggestion. But before we go to them, I would like to ask Mr. Güner from Media Markt Saturn about the view from the electronics industry, because some may say that the electronics sector was one of the biggest beneficiaries of the lockdown, As Mr. Bogacki mentioned, the lockdown remote work caused people stayed at home, but they needed equipment. They needed equipment for work, equipment for schools, for kids. According to statistical data, your sector was reporting year-on-year increases of sale. Was that actually truly a kind of a harvest for you, or the story is not so black and white? And do you see the long-term impact on your physical space, on what happened online during lockdown, and also what was a kind of a trend that we've observed before when the size of the stores, physical stores of the electronics sector was shrinking?
Okay, so let me try to structure a little bit from our sense. First of all, as a company, we are in a kind of a, I think it's fair to say, transformation mode since end of 2017. And I think it's also fair to say that the transformation from a group perspective in all these 12 countries are over. Yet, as you know, the question is always, what does transformation mean? When do you start? When do you really stop? Because on our scale, there will be always something we want to change and we want to ongoing improve and develop. We started actually before COVID with our digital first approach, which means we understood as a 50-year-old, let's call it traditionally German retailer, that the customer journey has changed. And for some of you, that may sound really weird because, you know, maybe it was a little bit time to understand that and also a little bit late. Definitely, yes, 5 to 10 years from a group's perspective, we were very late in digitalization and in our, let's call it very simple online approach. But what happened is our structure and our DNA was very decentralized. So just to give you an context, every store was its own profit center with an own owner in the past, and that has changed now. So as an organization, we have centralized. So it means we were very ready for the situation. On mid-March, just to mention that, I was as a leader of the Polish entity, I put my hands up, I said, guys, don't worry, that will go away in 2 weeks. Yes, I'm very open about it, and you may call it very naive, but that was my opinion at that time. And when the guys asked us, our group CFO to do 8 and 12 and 16 and 20 weeks of forecasts, I said, the guys are completely nuts now. I mean, nobody can afford that. A government can never, ever really go that route. So guys, don't worry, that will go over. So our first scenarios after reopening, whereas it could have been beginning of April, beginning of May, beginning of June, we forecasted to have a business of minus 50% to the previous year. Why? First of all, we didn't know what's going to happen. Second is we took China a little bit as a benchmark also within our industry and how China has developed. And China was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a good 8 weeks, I don't want to call it advanced, but faster than our development, with the shutdown, etc., etc. But what has happened very, very quickly, we turned around, we said, okay, so let's act as a pure player mode and let's bring our benefits to all our customers. Let's not try not to lose anything. We had to shut down over 90% of our stores due to the governmental decisions because of our scale, of our size. We are mostly in shopping centers, etc., etc. Our stores are bigger than 2,000 square meters. So we switched completely on pure player mode. And we created hubs, which means in every region, we then also sold and delivered from some of our stores, but also from our central warehouse. And all of a sudden, and yes, it was a huge surprise for us, our online sales increased by over 500% to previous year. And that was maybe, I can't now remember exact the dates, 20th or 22nd of March, whenever it was. And we were cautious about next day. Yes, we couldn't really tell what's happening in 4 weeks or 6 weeks time. And every day moved on like that. Every day moved on like that. So we then as a management team said, okay, what do we have to do now? We understand that home office, because we're doing it, so everybody needs to do it. So that's quite obvious when we talk about the word harvest you meant earlier. How do we promote the category of hardware, laptops, computing versus how do we then bring the desire to the other categories. I think Mr. Bogatsky called it earlier the desire of customers, something between the lines like that. And there are some very obvious things. After having the basic needs, people turned around and said, we need a solution for home office. And yes, on that side, we definitely harvested. But then we came in and we said, let's do promotions for, at work, at school, at home, and for example, at the kitchen. And this was an area where we created the value, and we made people aware that, all the things they can do with these machines, because a lot of the areas do need a trigger. The first trigger was, as I mentioned now already a couple of times, was work. Second trigger was kids, home entertainment, which means all these gaming consoles, they boosted unbelievably up, and we didn't have any more stock. I think end of March already we were completely sold out of Nintendo Switches, etc., etc. But the third area and fourth area was really the joy, entertainment, home, and the kitchen area, where we have created that value. And cynically or not, I don't know yet, people started to bake their own pizzas, and since then the pizza delivery services are really struggling, because people learned how to cook and how to do things at home. And whilst that may be very different for different countries and cultures and backgrounds, I understand that we are very, very good cooks in Poland, much better than in Germany, certainly, and in some other countries. But people learned and understood, what is possible, and people had fun, because whatever we do, whether we are customers or people or human nature, we always go for the extreme, yes? And then we started to cook every day. We started to bake every day. And this is where our products have really boosted up. What then happened is, and I want to go really a little bit more fast forward now, finally, as we had the very good message of the government to say everything seems to be under control, now you are allowed to open on the 4th of May, I think it was. We came back and we said, let's see what will happen now. And all of a sudden, the customers, started to come back. Very cautiously at the beginning, we had a footfall of the first days and weeks minus 30%, and then 2 weeks later minus 25, 6 weeks later minus 20, whereas now we are back on minus 15% the previous year. However, the customer behavior completely changed. So the customers coming in but spending almost 3 times more than in the past. So you need to take just the opportunity, and we're taking the opportunity to say, okay, the customer is visiting us less. However, the customer is ready, not just browsing and not just, I don't want to call it, using some spare time to walk around or wasting time, or maybe waiting whilst maybe the other people are somewhere else in the shopping center. Let's think about the cliche. I don't know, the wife is fashion shopping, and the man, very classically, by the way, and that picture has changed, of course, a little bit, is then browsing and going to MediaMarkt and, looking a little bit around. But this is not the case. People are coming in. The conversion rates are, almost at 50%. We're converting every second and third customer. And this is, of course, very, very positive for us. The timing there is not that black and white, but what is very black and white is the consistency through all the countries. So whether we go to Spain, to Italy, we go to Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, or Poland, in every country, the behavior within our industry, the sales trends is everywhere the same. And that was very, very interesting for us. What has happened now is, where are we today? So the demand hasn't stopped yet. And we call ourselves internally, not sure whether it's right, because we are cautious, what is the after effect of COVID, and when does COVID even stop? When can we define something as the after effect? We don't know yet, talking about second wave and all these risks. But it seems that we are winners of the crisis, yes, whether that's a nice word or not, I don't know. But that's something we certainly have used internally. But on the other hand, it can be also a huge bubble, because at this moment of time, the suppliers and all the sub-suppliers and modular suppliers, etc., they can't deliver anymore. So for the Christmas season, for example, the computing and hardware business is at risks. So what do you do now? So the suppliers are starting to increase prices, which is absolutely crazy in our industry. You know, in the last 10 years, talking about innovation, and let's not talk about the iPhone, but let's talk about laptops. I mean, what have we really innovated on a laptop? Very difficult to state from my point of view. I can come up with a lot of detailed technology, but in a nutshell, I would now say, to make it easy, not a lot. Yes. So with more integrated tools, etc., fine. But what happens now is we never ever had a time where, you know, laptop prices are increasing by over 20%, and that's not led by retailers. That's really led by the suppliers. And now you will say that's all very obvious. What about kitchen appliances and washing machines? Let's talk about it. It's almost the same. So the MDA, the so-called large kitchen suppliers in Poland, especially because we have the biggest manufacturing in Europe here, are really struggling because of all the component suppliers, and the demand is so much high. And there we are linking it, of course, to all the invests in the real estate market, where a lot of private investors into flats and houses, etc. But at the same time, also into the joy factor. How much joy is it now to wash your clothes? First of all, the customers are washing much, much more since COVID. They're not buying a lot of new stuff, as also Mr. I think Bogatsky also mentioned. But at the same time, it's a little bit the circular. So they started with the office, then they went to entertainment, and the kids pressured at home because they were at home. You had to get them quiet, so they got all the Nintendo and PlayStation. Then they went over to kitchen appliances. Then they went over to say, my TV is just 8 years old, it's a 40-inch, I need a 75-inch now, because we also got just a subscription on Netflix, and it's really great technology, it's much, much better picture quality. And finally, believe it or not, it's ended up on dishwashers, washing machines, and washer dryers, because people are saying, you know, let's also buy this, let's also buy that. And again, coming back to the first point I mentioned, I think human nature, we are always going for the extreme. And looking into the future, I believe the shopping centers and retail parks, they have a great future for all of us. First of all, let's not talk about too much macroeconomics, but, you know, the population of the world will increase. And we are, you know, people buy from people. The question is, how do you offer and how do you prepare your product in order for the customer to shop? But at the end of the day, people will not stay at home in the future more and more and more and just order the goods to their houses, because at the end of the day, you know, we want to also have some entertainment, also some experience. And here the responsibility on our end is clear. We are doing our marketing, but the responsibility on the shopping, let's call it the shopping center side and the owner side, I think there we got a little bit, maybe a little bit tired over the last years, not to invest so much anymore into the centers. And I don't mean into now specifically into the material or into the look and feel. I really mean, you know, on what's going on there, what kind of entertainment we offer. If you go and expect today as a customer, you know, I know Warsaw quite well by now, so I've been here just under a year. And I know all the shopping centers, and me as a customer, I know what to expect, but I didn't get surprised by something where I said, oh, that's really great. I didn't expect this to be happening in the shopping center. And there are a lot of opportunities, and maybe that's an opportunity for the shopping center owners to also entertain a little bit more. And that can be every week different. That can be once a month, twice a month, very, very basic, old school you know, opportunities. But I see definitely a huge future also for the shopping center. So no question about that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, and for sharing also all the numbers with us. Very much appreciated. Mr. Czernek, you are representing the kids sector. And similarly to electronics, your sector was increasingly active in the internet before the pandemic. How do you see the future of your sector as one of the very important elements of traditional shopping centers, and also what the new normality means to you.
Okay, hello everybody. It looks like the Polish toy markets will not be really deadly hit by COVID-19. The global market is expected to decline by 1% and then recover with 9% growth from 2021. And I assume the Polish market, toy market, will react in a similar way. This year, however, is accelerating technological transformation of retail, as it was already said a couple of times. As the pandemic lockdown has really changed the consumer behavior. And as John Donahue, CEO of Nike, said, digital is fueling how we create the future of retail. So I believe that as a result, the role and purpose of traditional stores will change. Bricks and mortar stores become an important part of the omni-channel retail solution. By taking on online orders fulfillment or being pickup points for click and collect. That's those obvious samples. On the other hand, let's not forget that toys retail is really about fun and emotions. So now when consumers are switching to safe, easy, convenient online purchases, traditional stores need to fill the emotional gap for an unforgettable in-store shopping experience, I would say. So the toy store of the future will be the place for inspiration and social gatherings. Places where children and parents and all the customers can unbox and play with the toy. And places, plenty of digital interaction. So I believe that such a store will be an important part of a new post-COVID shopping center tenant mix. And this new business model will definitely create kind of commercial gravity, contributing to an increase in footfall. That's what I think. On the other hand, I would like to add, let's note that we are not in the new normal yet. We are not in a new normal yet, and no one really knows how this new normal will look like in the future. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the WHO General Director, said recently that pandemic could continue for 2 more years. So there is a long way still to go, and a lot of issues to be addressed and solved.
Okay, thank you very much. Agnieszka Baczyńska is representing a company called Nowy, that is owner and developer of retail parks. So now we will switch to the outlet centers. Yes, sorry. So now we will switch into the angle of the landlords, for which I believe it's very important to have a view on what's going on now and will happen in the future from your perspective as well. As we look at the outlet business, the lockdown period was very difficult for everyone, but we clearly see that some type of retail assets get back on track very quickly, or at all nearly felt after the finishing of the lockdown, the influence of outlet centers was, together with the convenience shopping centers, one of the fastest going back on the previous numbers of footfall or turnovers. But I think not everything is exactly as it was in the before the pandemic. And could you please share with us what are the biggest challenges or changes that you observe in your centers, and how you think it might influence the future of your category or the shopping center as such?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. And on the beginning, I would like to say that it's very interesting to have a chance to share the different perspective in this, actually, our new reality. because there is no doubt that for everybody, lockdown brought the new reality in our retail industry. And especially looking from the shopping centers perspective, because like brands, like retailers, they have a chance to make a, let's say, still business during the lockdown, even to make a business in online. And the shopping centers are typically traditional shopping. And during the lockdown, after lockdown, we have noticed the new consumer behavior. Before lockdown, shopping centers used to be treated as a place for spending time, entertainment, with the increasing this fun and leisure component. And I would say that new customer is more focused on meeting his need. He's doing quick shopping, quick eating, or using other services just to fulfill the needs and, let's say, to feel safety at home again. In fact, some retail concepts, smaller concepts like convenience center, retail parks, or outlets, they are perceived by customers as a more convenient and more safety, which is really important in our pandemic world. And that's why the customers are more willing to visit such centers, and they prefer it than the big multifunction products. It's an opposite trend that we used to have in the past. And that's the fact also that the smaller centers have been recovering faster after the lockdown period. And looking from the outlet perspective, I can say that we have noticed this new behavior of customer. Like we have a lower footfall comparing to like for like, but definitely growing sales. And our client is more oriented on shopping, and we notice better KPIs. For example, conversion rate noticed increases after lockdown by nearly 20%, and average tickets plus 11%. So our client is motivated to do shopping. The clients are coming in smaller groups, but they are doing shopping. One person is buying for a whole family, or is coming alone, but doing shopping for a bigger group. This new behavior of customer for sure will stay with us for longer period. People adapt to new reality, and we are noticing this new shopping habits. And in my opinion, our role as a landlord, as managers of shopping center, is to adapt to this new reality and to respond our customer needs. And for sure, here is very important and crucial the close cooperation with the brands, and to deliver the proper offer to our tenants. And now, from our perspective, we are also analyzing changes of our customer habits, and we are now definitely focusing on this digital, because thinking about the future, definitely as a shopping center, together with the brand, we shall deliver some engaging content. I am talking about the experience, because in my opinion, the future of retail is definitely experience-driven sales. The tenant is, not the tenant, the customer is so active in this digital world that, let's say, to still be interesting for our customer, we need to deliver some phygital, something which is connection between the physical shopping and the digital information content. And this online activity is giving us a fantastic opportunities, and to be close to our customer, to understand their needs, because there is a interactive communication with our customers. And our role as a partners in the business, landlord and tenants, is to analyze consumer needs and respond and deliver them some excitement and the reason why the customer should visit our centers and to visit particular stores in our centers. So I would like to also respond to Mr. Bogacki's comments that definitely we are, everybody, in new reality, and we need to adapt to this new reality. And the major thing from our perspective is the cooperation between the landlord and tenants. Of course, discuss about the business, about the profitability of our businesses. But here is also important under parties, like we are actually everybody impacted in this current situation. So important is to find proper solutions based on the partnership. And those solutions, in my opinion, shall be based on the current results. And with this thought that everybody is, let's say, focusing on the profitability of the business, of sharing the losses caused by the current situation. So, as I mentioned, the partnership and the both parties understanding in this situation is important, and thinking also about the future business relations. For sure, the lockdown caused the discussion, market discussion, in which are involved all parties, not only landlord and tenant, but also investors and also banks and other financing institutions to understand the current situation and to redefine their businesses and adapt to current situation. And this is, in my opinion, the crucial thing to still keep in mind that we are still partners, and we have plenty of opportunities, and we just need to cooperate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Agnieszka, very much. And the question to Anna, you are also representing landlords, and majority of your portfolio are the large multifunctional shopping centers. The opinions that the vacancy rates in the shopping centers will be increasing as a result of COVID. And what do you think would be the new functions, and could be the new functions that, in your opinion, can successfully replace traditional elements of shopping centers? Or maybe you disagree with this opinion. In your view, will shopping centers have similar role in the future as it has now, or maybe this role will be different?
Thank you, Anya, and maybe I will say whatever is already was said a few times over this panel, that the coronavirus and this pandemic affected all of us, the whole business. If it's effect for short-term results for some of the retailers, another had really to reconsider the strategy and the way to work forward. I think that you mentioned as well at the beginning of the panel and about the increase of the online sales, and we all saw that the online during the period that we were sitting at home increased significantly, reached around 12% during April of the total retail sales in Poland. While in June we saw that when we were all back to the shopping centers and back to the streets, let's call it, the online dropped to just below 8% of the total. And this is a great proof to the fact that people went back to the shopping centers. Agnieszka was mentioning about the footfall, and we can see footfall in our portfolio, but not only in our assets, but across the shopping centers. The footfall is increasing from 1 month to another, and the sales are slowly coming back. Of course, it very much depends in which component, but slowly things are coming back. There is, of course, a change of habits. But the question is that when you ask yourself, is the change of habits, is it a short-term change or a long-term change? Nevertheless, I would say that in our opinion, and the coronavirus and the e-commerce will definitely accelerate the change of the shopping centers. And probably we will not have the shopping centers the same as we had them in the 90s and in the 2000s, etc., etc. Regarding Atrium, as we see it as a group, we started the change and we articulated our strategy some years ago. Probably not because we could foresee the coronavirus, but we decided from our perspective to concentrate on dominant locations and on big assets in capital and prime cities. And really over the years, the concentration on quality versus the quantity came into effect. We divested quite a lot of assets, more than 100, and exited a few markets. And the latest transaction which we did was in reality just a few months ago that we divested 5 assets in Poland. So from our perspective, the focus on the urban locations with a clear future of growth, this is the way how we for ourselves we see the way forward. I believe the latest Fitch report, which was just a few days ago published, the forecast for the Polish economy was on the level of 4.5% for next year. And this is showing the strength of the current market. This and the urbanization that I don't know if you can see behind me, probably not very well, but we see it on daily basis, and will definitely bring the consumption, and the consumption will just increase in the coming years. I believe that with having the dominant locations and the proper, as it is right in our eyes, the new concepts will come, the new tenants will come, they are coming to the market, to the Polish market. We see it all the time, and I would not say that the pandemic period should really define how we should look at our business in the future of 5 or 10 years. The question regarding if I believe that the traditional shopping center will have a change, of course there will be certain change. And it's not that things will disappear, things will not disappear, but we believe that we will see more showrooms. We believe that our retailers and our tenants will try to make the omni-channel work properly and actually benefit out of it. And I think that all the participants mentioned it today in this or other way. And that's why we will see more click and collect, we will see more in-store collection, we will see more and more different things which were maybe today are just kind of by the way part of the center, or by the way part of the store. I believe we will have more and more customized services which we are not having so much today. Health and beauty will move more to the shopping centers. And eventually F&B and leisure. So we are currently having, let's say, the standard, or what is, there's not many new options existing today in the Polish market, although ourselves and many of our peers are looking to bring new ideas to the centers. And regarding if we see our role for the future, I would say that our vision, we were saying it before and we're saying it now, is to create this third destination. And the way how we define the first destination in our state of mind is not only a place where people are coming to buy groceries or to buy clothes. This is actually this place where you come to do their daily tasks or your obligation to go to the bank, to go to any other service that you need, a place where you come to your beautician, to the medical clinic, a place where you're gonna drop your kids for some activity or club after work, after school. So that's gonna be a place which will fulfill the majority of our needs. We, of course, now we see that the F&B and leisure is not back yet to the pre-pandemic, but that's only, we believe, it's only a question of time. So eventually people are coming out and they are craving to go out. We saw that people were, when we were all sitting at home, this desire to get out and buy McDonald's was somehow extremely high compared to our normal life, because normally maybe you would not desire for this McDonald's so much. But just because we were not allowed, we really were craving to have Pizza Hut or McDonald's, or to have a coffee in a proper plastic cup, which normally you would prefer to have it in China. Yeah. So the fact that people are social creatures is not going to change. And I have to say, maybe kind of jump to what Agnieszka mentioned. Yes, today we see that people are behaving somehow maybe different, but in the long term, it's the way how we believe that's not how it's going to work out. We saw not only in Poland, we're present in other markets, but also having just a look around us. At the moment, the lockdown was over and people were allowed to go out. People were out. People were dining outside. They were going for maybe in capsules, not in capsules, but they were going out to eat, to drink, because it's kind of a basic nature. So people may decide not to travel in airplane for 12 hours far away, but they still need to take their kids out to playing area to buy something to eat. Teenagers were really going crazy from this homeschooling, and we are together with them. And they really were craving to eat outside. And I have to say that for us, all of us here and people around us who are working from home or part or full-time or part-time, we know that the problem which we can solve sitting in a room with the 3 people around us will take us 7 minutes, and online it can be 5 hours of calls which are going all over. So efficiency, there are many opinions, but we're missing coming to the office at least in full capacity. So all of this together is saying that we need it, and we would like to go out, and that's the nature of us as people. And I believe that what we need to do is to create safe and this spacious environment for our customers. That people will come and they feel we have indoor quite big facilities. We need to utilize our outdoor facilities, try to combine them together with indoor-outdoor restaurants, maybe create some more ideas together with our tenants and our business partners to make a space which will answer to these needs of the customers. Bottom line, we are working for them. All of us on this panel are trying to give the benefit to the end customer. We are, at the moment, they will be happy and successful. All of us going to be happy and successful. So I think that's what we need to drive to. And just maybe to answer or to support what Mr. Gunnar said, that we need to create, and shopping centers need to create more marketing activities and events. First of all, I agree with you 100%. Maybe today it's a little bit tricky because you are trying to find the balance, what is right and wrong, and how much people want to gather and how much they don't want to gather in one location. But to create this entertainment factors, it's actually what exactly we are gonna do once we will be able, all of us feel safe. So with the safety and the space and bringing the people to answer on this extra need, that's the goal that we're looking to achieve, and this is where we're probably gonna see the shopping centers in our eyes.
Thank you, Anna, very much. I was taking some notes during you were all giving your views on the situation, the future, and I clearly see that regardless of if we are the operator, the retailer, or you are the landlord, everyone says that there is a future for shopping centers, for like traditional retail. And the customer want to still meet your brand, meet your place in real life, not only online. The other thing was digital and omni-channel, and then again, regardless whether you are the tenant or retailer or the landlord, everyone sees, and that's actually, we clearly see it for already for some time, that there is not only physical space or not only online, everything is overlapping, and it's the e-commerce is actually the everywhere commerce. So the omni-channel is crucial for everyone at the moment. The experience is another element that actually everyone was mentioning, and that the experience is something that can bring something more than just a thing to the customer, and the customer is in the center of our universe actually at the moment. And the last thing, which I think is for the future and for finding out the new normality and finding out our place in the new normality, and actually this also come up from all of the panelists, was the cooperation and finding the way for the how to cooperate in new normal, and that's new normal. It's not only COVID, post-COVID. This new normal is a changing world. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if we still have some time to answer questions, because I think we have exceeded our time a bit. So sorry for that to the organizers. But definitely, any questions that were asked on chat, if I get the signal from the organizer that we can, I will proceed with, because we have two questions actually, and if not, then on private channels. Okay, so thank you very much. So all the questions can be asked directly to panelists on the private chat, and I would like to thank you all for taking part in this discussion. It was very interesting, and thank you for taking time to joining us. And I would also like to thank to our listener for participating. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much. Thank you.